My friends, it has been an amazing trading week in Forex. I have made, at this point, $114,000 this week. And this is from 3 trading opportunities, which we're going to go over in detail. There's also one trading opportunity we're in right now that's in a couple $1,000s profit. I'm going to break that down as well. And then we're also going to go through a little outlook as to what to kind of look for going into next week. Now, this is from my trading group here in Discord, where I call all my trades, and I also share my analysis for trades I'm looking to get into, with all the explanations and reasoning and recaps and outlooks and things like that. And then all my exact trades are placed here in this Discord server. So what we're going to do is we're going to go one by one through all these trades that I've called out this week, and we're going to look at them so that way you can learn the way that I trade, and you can maybe do the same thing for yourself. I'm also working on a free training video. Whenever it's ready, I'll put the link in the description of this video. It'll probably be ready a couple days from now. And with that free training video, what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to completely duplicate my trading approach. You can risk whatever dollar amount you want per trade. You can tune it to your risk threshold. But it is very, very simple. It's very duplicatable, very repeatable, very consistent. And it is the best trading approach that I've found, where you have to do literally barely anything over the past decade that I've been trading. Having made millions of dollars in Forex and crypto trading and stocks, this has been the most just easiest basic way to trade, and you don't really have to do that much. So you're going to get a taste for it here in this video today. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's start with GBP Canadian dollar. So you can see I bought right there and the profit was about $45,000. So GBP Canadian dollar, what we saw earlier this week, I'm going to show you what my analysis was originally. And it was right here. Price was here at this support zone. So what I had done is I entered a buy whenever price got into the support zone. And then I had a stop loss below the zone and then a take profit above the zone. So the trade essentially looks something like this right here. Entry was there. Profit target was just a little bit further out and the stop loss was underneath the zone so that it looks something like this. Now, basically all my trades have a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio. I don't play those types of games where I'm trying to get 1 to 5, 1 to 10 risk to reward ratios. And I also don't trade negative risk reward rate ratios either. What I found is it's the simplest whenever you're just risking whatever you're comfortable risking, and then set your initial profit target at least a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. Then you can always reanalyze, right? It gets you a simple way to structure the trade with a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. You'll have plenty of losers and plenty of winners, but the worst case scenario imaginable that can happen is if you just enter random trades with 1-to-1 risk reward and let it hit the stop or the target, is that you're just break even. So what I'm saying is by you just doing this and just entering random trades blindfolded with a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio, roughly speaking, half of them will go to the profit target and half of them will go to the stop loss. And you're a 50-50 trader, you're a break-even trader. 90% of people lose money trading because trading is risky and most people lose money. If you just blindfold yourself and enter random trades with 1-to-1 risk reward ratio, you'll be a break-even trader. You'll be in the 10% or less of people that are actually not losing money trading. And then once you get break-even, you can fine-tune things, optimize things, tweak things in such a way to where it can move you into profitability. My team and I work with people to do this exact same thing, and within about 30 to 60 days, we were able to take people's entire trading journey and completely flip it around 180 if they went from a losing trader to then getting into like that break-even profitable stage as a trader. And it is very, very simple, and all you have to do is just follow literally everything I say here in this video. I'm going to show you how it all works, so let's go ahead and get into it. So basically all I do is when price gets into a support zone in the higher time frames, I buy with a stop below the zone and a target above the zone and at least a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. Let's go back here into my actual group so you can see where I called this trade out. And let's see what this was. We're going to go all the way back through here so you can see everything. So this was into last week. So here was GBP CAD, so I was still in this trade right here, as well as Euro AUD. I was in this trade all the way from last week, as well as GBP USD and a couple more. So here it is. Okay, finally. Okay, I have entered long on GBP Canadian dollar. So you can see this is the zone I entered off of. You can see how simple it is whenever price gets to one of these zones on the weekly, daily charts, I just buy there at the zone. I put a stop underneath the zone and a target at 1-to-1. So it was very, very, very simple. right? I don't really have to do a lot of crazy stuff with it. You can see there's my entries there. It's one position broken up into two individual trades. That way I can make sure the risk is appropriate. You can see I risked $50,000 on that. And then with this right here, the market reopened and I was like, okay, I'm still holding these trades. And then Euro AUDs was a separate trade we're going to talk about here in a second. But you can see I got long on GBP USD. Everything continued. This was my loss on GBP USD last week. I had a trade on GBP USD turn into a loss, $30,000 loss. And let's go ahead and look at where this trade closed on GBP CAD. All right, here we go. So November 3rd, right? And it's now November 5th, so 2 days ago. So I'm closing GBP CAD here around this recent high, a $45,000 profit just before the take profit. So what I did is I opted to close GBP CAD just because it was around a set of recent highs in the lower time frames that it kept bouncing at. So I just decided, you know what, it's close enough to the target. It was only like $5,000 profit away from the target, so I just decided it would be a better idea to close it. So instead of a $50,000 risk for a $50,000 profit, I closed it just before that TP for 45K. So that was GBP Canadian dollar. But you can see the same little basic supply, right? Buying at support, stop below the zone, and a target at a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio. The same thing works for if you're using resistance zones. So if price comes into a resistance zone, right, all you do is you enter a trade there at the resistance zone. You put your stop loss just above the zone. It doesn't have to be too close like that, but you don't want to put it really far either. Just above the zone, and a target at a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio. And once you get better at doing this, you might be able to get your win rate up to like 60 or 70%. And if you can have a win rate that good with just simple trading approaches and 1-to-1 risk-reward ratios, and you're winning like 6 or 7 out of every 10 trades, you have a profitable trading approach. Even with just a 60% win rate, out of every 10 trades you take, net of fees and commissions, which are low if you're trading Forex, you're going to be coming out roughly 2 units of profit on average every 10 trades. So if you take 10 trades in a month, right, that's only like, 2.5, 3 trades a week maybe. If you're just coming out on top 2 units of reward and you're risking like $1,000 per trade, for example, that's about $2,000 per month profit or $24,000 per year. You keep dialing up the risk parameters to just make more money once you have the system down and once you have all your stats and data down. That's why it's important to like set up a trading journal and track things in a very, very simple way, just so that way you can see what's working and what's not. It's the first thing we do when we work with our coaching clients. We make them set up a trading journal in a Discord server. They give access to me and my team to go over their Discord server. And we give them daily feedback as we're watching all their trades and we're seeing everything they're doing, giving them suggestions. We literally screen record a video for them and give them feedback every single day so people can start like shifting decisions immediately and have an instant feedback loop so that they can learn from what's working and what's not working. But a trading journal is very important. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can just set up a Discord server, put a before and after screenshot of the trade with an explanation as to what happened and what you did. And then you start learning from what's working and what's not working. Then you just simply do more of what works and less of what doesn't. So GBP CAD worked out pretty nicely and we had a nice little profitable trade there. So now I'm actually looking to get long again on GBP Canadian dollar, but I'm waiting for price to come a little bit lower, kind of into this region where that low was right there. Then I'll probably be looking to buy right there. If that trade stops out and doesn't work, then I'm going to be looking to buy down here at this zone, probably around here where this alert is. And it's going to be the same types of trades, right? An entry at the zone, stop below, and a target above for 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. So the next trade we took this week was Euro AUD, and I took a buy. And I believe we had this trade going from last week. So last week I had called a Euro AUD trade. I closed it at a small loss, and then I re-entered it. I either closed it, I think, at a small loss or a small break even or something like that, but whatever it was, we had re-entered this week and I entered with a $50,000 risk. This is what the trade looked like. Again, look at how simple this is, right? You can see it's Euro AUD and it's here on the weekly chart. You can see that my entry is there at the zone. You can see my stop is below the zone with however much I'm looking to risk, which in this case was 50K. And my take profit is just a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio for $50,000. So I entered that there. This is what it looked like at the time I entered it. Of course, I was still in GBP CAD and this GBP USD trade. Then we got into this week, and let's go all the way to where I added to it. So I added to Euro AUD, and what this did is it added an additional $30,000 of risk. So the risk went up to 50K to 80K. On average, right now, I'm risking between $50,000 to $100,000 per trade. These are high dollar amounts of risk, but keep in mind, I've been trading for like 10 years. I have millions and millions of dollars to capital to trade with, and I also split my capital up between Forex and crypto and stocks, right? So for me, risking 50 to 100K per trade, it may sound like a lot, and to be fair, it is a very high dollar amount. Yes, I recognize that. However, compared to my trading capital, it's a low enough percentage of my trading capital that it keeps me safe during losing streaks, and also it allows me to actually profit and make a lot of money whenever I do have win streaks, which inevitably come just as often as losing streaks, especially if your win rate is like around break even or maybe a little bit above that, like 55, 60, 65%. So with this trade, it went up to an $80,000 risk for a potential profit of 120,000. So it started as a 50K risk to make 50K, and then when I added here, having the same stop loss and same lot size, if that would have gone there to that stop loss, that second position I added would have resulted in a $30,000 loss, and the first trade would have resulted in a $50,000 loss, meaning an 80K loss for a 120K profit. Now the reason I added is because when price gets down here into the extremes of a zone, the interesting part about it is that price is either going to bounce there at that zone or it's not. And so whenever you do get blessed with entries that are that sweet, that are right there at the tippy top or the bottom of all the wicks that have been into the support or resistance zone respectively, then what you can do is you can enter there and you know your stop just has to be right past that area, right? So you get a really good entry. That's why, for one, I don't like closing my trades when they're at the ideal optimal entries. But on top of that, if I've already started a trade a little bit earlier, like earlier up in the zone, but I know it could still go a little bit deeper, I'll leave myself a little bit of room and a little bit of available margin to be able to add to it, right? Still with the stop loss, right? Because if it goes against and it breaks below the zone, you can't just hold on to it forever. You'll eventually have one trade that just blows your account doing that. But I'll do it in such a way where it allows me to add to trades at optimal points. And while it is additional risk, it also results in a radically amount of more profit whenever it does work, right? And it's only going to work a little more than half the time on average. But for me, it's good enough and it works. And that's what I did. So I just added here when price got deeper in the zone. Then what ended up playing out? So you can see Euro AUD started to bounce up a little bit from the second entry, started to come up. Then you can see no updates. This is where I closed GBP CAD. You saw right there. So this was $45,000 profit. So this is Euro 80. So I said this was at 4 a.m. on yesterday, so November 4th. So yesterday at 4:30 a.m. I was up at 4:30 for some reason. I probably need to get a life or something like that instead of staring at charts at 4:30 a.m. But I said, hey friends, I'm closing Euro AUD here. She's trying to get past the recently hourly highs and she's painting some bearish wicks. It was a decent trade. It was $50,000 and it's under half of what the anticipated target was. Keep in mind, the anticipated target for Euro AUD was about $120,000 if it had continued, but due to the fact that it started rejecting with the previous highs in the 1 hour, this made me a little bit skeptical to hold, and so I ended up closing the trade. This is where I closed the trade yesterday. So you can see right here, price started rejecting here at this area where all the recent highs were, so I ended up closing it in this region here. What happened afterwards is that price dropped a little bit, right? So I avoided that drop, but then it ended up spiking and it went higher. This would not have gone all the way to the original profit target. However, it would have gone into more profit, but then that was short-lived. Within 2 hours, it came all the way back, had a weak dead cat bounce before then falling back into the support zone. And I would still be sitting in this trade, and instead of a $50,000 profit, it might be sitting in like a $25,000 profit or something like that. So I made the decision to close here just because we started to reject that zone. If we would have got a crazy bull candle immediately through this zone, I probably would have held it. But context and discretion and nuance and your price action discernment, your subjective judgment, these are all things that are going to help you decide what's to do, what is best to do given the context and given the particular trading opportunity. That's why the main thing that I do right now here at Mission FX is I just have this group, MFX Nix Trades, where I just share all my trades live. I share every single detail of every single thing I do live here in this group. And then, of course, the analysis as well for trades that are setting up. That way you understand not only what trades are being taken, but why they're taken, the logic behind it, the reasons behind it. Because honestly, you really don't need to be in the MFX Next Trades group more than a couple months. Most people are usually good after about 3 to 6 months. They can go and duplicate this and do it on their own. And some people just stay here because it's easy for them to just follow my trades. They don't have to think, they can just copy my trades. And for a lot of clients in here trading with at least $5,000 to $10,000 of trading capital, if they're risking high enough dollar amounts, they can make anywhere from like 1,000 to sometimes 1,500, and at high enough risk settings, maybe even like $2,000 per month off of like 5 to 10K in trading capital. I'm not guaranteeing you anything. I'm just telling you what's possible if you join my group and you have a good amount of trading capital to trade with, and you're risking high enough dollar amounts per trade. So, with that said, that was your AUD. Now, we had a final trade right here, which I was wanting to look at, that we closed, and it was GBP JPY. So it was this, and I called this out last night. So literally yesterday at 6:50 p.m., so about 7 p.m. last night. And you can see it's the same old stuff, right? It's a support resistance zone. You can see it was resistance multiple times. We broke above, and we came back to test as support. So whenever price came back here to test as support here, I just simply bought. I had an alert there at the zone. It went off on TradingView. I entered it yesterday around 7 p.m. And then I put a stop loss below the zone, and I put a target at a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio. This was a very nice little trade. So I was long. I only risked $25,000 on this because I wanted to give myself a chance to add a little bit deeper into the zone if it came a little bit deeper. So what ended up happening is that it started bouncing. It went a little bit against me, a little bit deeper into the zone. Not enough to where I could have added at, but it went a little bit deeper, but then it started to bounce today. And then as price started going up, I said I'm holding GBP JPY. It's halfway to the profit target. And then this morning, you can see at 7:30 a.m., so just over 12 hours, right? From like 7 p.m. the previous day to almost 8 a.m. today. So it was like 13 hours or so. You can see I'm closing GBP JPY right here. So this trade, just in like a matter of like just over 12 hours, maybe like $16,000 alone on this one. I had to hold GBP CAD and Euro AUD from last week into this week. But these still, this one still ended up in a net profit pretty quickly. So that's awesome. So I'm closing GBP JPY right here at 7 a.m. this morning. I think the previous low shown in the chart might turn to resistance based on how quickly price spiked up from here, so it's safer to close. It was a low risk, low reward trade. I risked 25K, and then it ended up being about $16,000 closed profit. This account I've been growing. A lot of you guys have saw me since I was growing this account from when it was around, I think a little bit above $250,000 a couple weeks ago. It's now at $473,000. I'm still probably going to withdraw a little bit and buy more crypto if it does get to $500,000. It's at 473K right now. So about another $25,000 or so, 25-30K more. After fees and commissions, it'll be to the growth target of 500K. Probably take out like maybe at least 200K, maybe even like $250,000, and I'm going to put it into crypto and altcoins because altcoins have crashed a lot. So they're good places to like average in. But that'll be good if this account can get there like either this week or next. So that was the GBP JPY trade. It popped up right here. You can see this is on the lower time frame on the H4, so not the daily or weekly, but the trade was based off the weekly and daily, of course. But whenever it popped up into here to these recent lows, I saw price starting to reject it a little bit, and so what I did is, since the candle was looking like it was finding like bearish sensitivity, I just thought it'd be a better idea to close. It was a nice trade. It was very low risk. You can see it went into drawdown a little bit, like maybe a third to close to a half of the way to the stop, turned around, went into profit. So I considered it to just be a pretty good trade, and I just left it at that. If we're seeing what happened after the fact, so it looks like it would have continued into more profit. You can see this is where I closed the trade right here. I don't always get it right? So I closed right there. It looks like it fell a little bit for a second, but then it just ended up ripping upwards, and it would still be in more profit right now. Like probably would have hit the profit target, and if not, be very close to it. So, perhaps I missed out on an extra $10,000 from not being able to participate in the entire trade as it came to fruition. But at the same time, I have other trades like the one that I showed you just prior to this, where had I not closed, like Euro AUD, for example, it would now have come back and I would have given back like $25,000 of profit that I wouldn't have made. So it's very dynamic, it's very fluid, it's very nuanced. That's why I just do it live. That way people can just follow all my trades if they're in my Discord, and they can just see everything live. So that's why I just do it live so people can just follow. I've been doing this for like 7 years since I've been running Mission FX, just calling all my trades. So that's GBPJPY. We'll see what happens. So the final thing I want to go over is the current trade that I'm in right now. All right, so this is just to recap those 3 trades, GC, EA, and GJ, $114,000 profit so far this week, because we could be ending in more profit depending on what USDCHF does. Our current week is 3 trading opportunities, 3 wins, 100% win rate, $115,000 profit this week. Past 2 months have been amazing. So you can see 9 a.m. right here, we had a sell on USDCHF, and you can see I'm just doing the same thing over and over again, right? With the same stuff. It's the weekly chart, so you can use weekly or daily. It works just as well on both. Price came into a resistance zone, right? It was support a couple times, like 1, 2, maybe 3 times here. So 2, 3 times here. Broke below, found resistance once, twice, 3 times for 3 weeks of candles. Came really far down, bounced here along this support zone down here, then came back up to where we're at right now at this resistance zone. So price is currently sitting here at the resistance zone. I entered a sell with the stop loss above the zone and a target below, and I risked $50,000 on this. Excuse me, almost $50,000. I think the position sizing and lot size and stop loss placement worked out a little bit differently. It's a 45K risk, but still around that 50K threshold, where for most positions I'll start at around 50K. Sometimes I'll risk 100K initially if it's at a perfect entry. Sometimes I'll risk 25K. But the average I risk per trade is about 50K per trade. So this is what I entered, and I mean, there's not much really to say about it, right? I entered a sell at the resistance zone, just like I showed you guys for all the other trades. I enter at the zone and put a stop past it and a target below, 1-to-1 risk reward ratio, and a high dollar amount risk per trade. So this is currently already running into profit. We just hit session changeover about 15 minutes ago. So let's see where USDCHF is at right now. So it's still dropping. So it's probably in like $5,000 to $6,000 of profit right now. What I might do is, since the account is so close to the growth target, right? So the account might be sitting at, with the current profit, like 470, maybe like 480K or just under that. What I might do is just close this trade as soon as it hits the growth target of 500K. That way I can just withdraw, protect the capital, and restart again with like $250,000 in the account. So that will be very, very good. Now, as far as the analysis, I had sent this here, you can see at 8:30 this morning. This is generally what I'll do is, since I started this analysis portion of the group, is USDCHF is almost set up, waiting for a bit deeper of a push into the resistance level. I had an alert set up here in this zone, and whenever it went into that zone and triggered that alert, that's where I entered. But I'll share the analysis, right? And it's very, very simple. You can see it's just black and white charts, black background, some white candles, and some blue zones, little arrows to show what I think might happen. I shared, this was yesterday at 9 a.m., so like over 24 hours ago, I said USDCHF is almost ready. This NIX analysis portion just allows you to get a heads up on the trades that I'm looking to take. That way you can be following along, you can be prepared, you can put them on your watch list, and you can just follow everything hands-on in a way that allows you to start getting used to duplicating it on your own. So that way you don't need me or any other guru to like tell you exactly what to do. You can learn to experience by just going through the actual motions every day, like day in and day out. As far as my Discord server goes, there's no course with it. There's no coaching. There's no group chat. It's nothing. It's just a focused place where you can follow all my trades and analysis and just get every single thing step by step, all the details, and follow along and do it in real time. The best part is that it's so simple, right? I'm not posting in here a million times a day. It's simple trades you could do. Even if you have like a job, you've got full-time work, or you own a business, or you're a surgeon, or you're an engineer, or you're an attorney, or whatever the case may be, right? You got a busy life. I get that. I got a busy life too. But thankfully, this is my like full-time thing here. So I have to like make sure I'm taking time to look at charts and follow the market and things like that. So I post it all here. That way you can follow along. The Mission FX NIX Trades group there in Discord, it's like a bowl of Lucky Charms, but it's just the marshmallows, right? It's just the stuff that you need to know. No fluff, no posting for the sake of posting. Just the targeted, simple things that help you to be able to improve on your trading. You could just have alerts set on your phone, so that way when I take something, you get an alert. And if you want, you can participate in the same trades as well after you're doing your own analysis. And you can set the risk tolerance to whatever you want to risk per trade. It's a very simple way to follow the trade. So these are all the analysis this week, and that's the trade that we're in right now, USDCHF. So I'm thinking we're going to see like a nice little pull off the zone. If we don't, right, it'll go a little bit deeper into this zone, and what I'll probably do is end up adding again if we can get price spike all the way here to this extreme high. Because if we get there, that'll be like the extreme highs of the zone. I could add to the trade right there. That'll probably add an additional like $20,000 of risk maybe if it pops up here. Because up here will be a 50K loss. But if I can add again right there with the stop in the same spot and then it drops, that could be a lot of profit. You'll notice I give my trades a little bit of room to breathe, just so that way I can still profit from the outcome, and I don't get taken out, like pinned out on a stop loss at an illogical area just on technicality, just to then watch the trade go back into profit and it would have been a win. I like to let my trading ideas come to fruition. That is why I do not use tight little stop losses. That's why I place them far enough, and then I risk a dollar amount that I'm comfortable with, and I give myself a little bit of free margin available to be able to add to it in case it goes against me and gets a better entry, right? I still have a final invalidation area, still have a final stop loss area, but I give myself a little bit of space so that way I can add to it and profit even more if it just gets to a better entry. There's no point in closing a trade if it just gets to a better entry. And if anything, if you've set up your trade appropriately with a simple risk structure and risking how much you're comfortable with and leaving some, let's say, quote unquote, dry powder on the table, which is just a little bit of capital, to be able to add to it if it gets to a better entry, then you can do that provided it's still combined with a structured risk. Meaning you still have a final area you're going to close if you're wrong, still have a final stop loss area, then you can just play it that way. It's very simple, very easy thing to do. It takes, a couple weeks, couple months to learn it. Then after you learn it, it's all good. There's a plane flying above me right now. I don't think I've ever heard a plane fly above me here in my my luxury little condo place I live at. That's really funny. I've never heard a plane fly above. It's wild. Okay, so as far as Forex, that's all the trades that I've got for Forex. There's a couple more things I'm looking at, but I'm going to save that here for the private group here. I'll post the recaps for it afterwards, but that has been our trading week here. So for more information on how to join my Discord server, that way you can follow all my trades, the analysis, and everything, I'm going to put a link in the description and in the pinned comment, and you can check it out if you like. And make sure you tune in tomorrow because we're going to be going over more potential trading opportunities, any new trades I've taken, a recap of the USD CHF trade, and more. So I'll see you guys in the next video tomorrow. Hope you have a great rest of the day, and take it easy, my friends. Happy trading.